welcome to Books to Change Your Life. Today we have a special episode with Wendy Mulder from Australia. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you.
And Wendy has written two books on grief, death, and dying. And also they really encompass a lot of other topics and a lot of other they're really amazing growth books just in life. So today we're going to talk about her first book, that is Learning from Grief. And I love the book. I read the book a couple years ago and got so much great information from it. And um, I love the stories that you tell and sort of the journey that you take us on. And you've also been through, you've had the chance to use your tools since you wrote these books with the loss of your husband as well, and really taken yourself on the journey again. So I would love to hear about the book, about what that was like for you, and just all the way that you dealt with that and healed and created your life.
Cool. Well, thank you, Julia. Lovely to be here. Wow, so cool to be here. Yeah. Well, these, Learning from Grief, book number one, and then second book, Dying Happy, The Gift of Choice. And I think the magic of everything, it was just that ping of like when I wrote that first book, you know how you never know how it's going to show, but you just keep following the energy. And a whole lot of us got together, and we didn't profess to know a whole lot about much in the beginning, but we just thought, let's go play. Let's just go and see what we can find out about how we can be with our friend and support her.
So you had a friend. If you could just refresh me and
Yep.
let the audience know. So you had a friend and her husband passed away, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was sort of her life situation and sort of the tone of the story, and then what you guys all did?
Okay, so yeah, so she'd been caring for her husband for a long time. So she was very exhausted, tired, and it had taken up her whole life. And also they never really found out what his condition was. He never really had a diagnosis. So that was also very difficult for her. Like he just gradually got worse. And then because of my nursing background, she sort of pulled me in with a couple of things with the palliative care side of things. And so from there, after he did die, what seems to occur for a lot of people, because it becomes their whole life being a carer. And then as soon as that person goes, it's like they're lost in a way. They're like, oh, what do I do now? Because they've had this set routine, their whole life's been around the pain, the medications, everything. So it was a really cool time for us to go, well, okay, what can we do? What can we do to assist this person? And so what are some fun things that we can do that can actually start her to start growing again and looking at the fact of living her life, and making
This was a group of you, her, and two other friends, right? Working with her?
Yeah. So there was four of us. Yeah, absolutely. So and we were all pretty busy doing our own thing and stuff like that, but we made that choice. And then we were just like, we had that whole point of view. Okay, so how much fun can we have here? And where can we go? What can we do? And let's travel wherever. And that's how it started to unfold. And so it's just really a story of each and every one of us, our lives, and how we supported her, and how grief came up for each one. So it was, in a way, we're supporting her, but it also gave us an awareness of how much we all had grief going on that we'd sort of suppressed down because of our busy lives.
Could you give an example of that, like just to and how that was?
Well, it's like I think of well, I'll think of say maybe of my myself at the time. It was like, oh yes, we'll go and support, we'll go and support M. And then I think of myself, like I have elderly mother who was not well, and I was working, and I think I had 3 jobs at the time, and it was like, oh, we just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. And then on top of that, we've piled something else. Oh, well, we're just going to go over here, and we're going to also see what we can do, put together for this friend. And it was just like, oh, hold on a minute. There was a lot of, for me, there was a lot of areas where I hadn't really looked at the grief of my mum's dying as well, and I got to see how much we just, a lot of times, how we distract ourselves away doing and not actually being willing to be with what was and allowing it to be what it is and be with it. And so that's an example, I suppose, where I had to really look at that and go, okay, so what is my priority here? And acknowledging, the kids, the hubby, the work, the dying mother, and now adding supporting a friend. So it was cool for me to get, okay, I need to make some changes. I need to make some changes. I require to look at something here that's going to bring ease for me and not feel like I'm twisted and turning in a million places. So once I chose that, it brought a lot more ease. But each and every one of us it was interesting. Each and every one of us had our own thing. So it was a combination of the willingness to be and look at what is.
Cool. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So when your husband died, was that like 3 years ago?
He died in 2019. He died in 2019. So I'd finished Dying Happy, The Gift of Choice. And so he died, what are we in, 22 now? So it's about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I've got no concept of time. And so, so he died. It was one of those things which highlighted again in looking back in reflection now of really the gift of living, because and not getting caught up in the small things. He went out one morning and didn't return, and then 7 days later we found him. And that's one of the things I always say with grief is it is an incredible, if you really want to, it's an incredible inspiration to remember to keep living and enjoying your day as much as possible, like really and truly. And that's why I love the access tools, is 10 seconds, be crappy. And then the next minute, oh, well, I'm here, I have this beautiful body and the sun's shining and we have surrounded by beautiful earth. And and I can walk and I can talk and I can do crazy things. So that was, and of course I've had many things, like Tina, who was part of the girls in this book. It was interesting. I just did a body class and one of the guys in the book said, and I'd forgotten about this, he said, oh, so what happened to Tina? Because I think she wrote a couple of words right at the end of the book. Tina's work, this is my friend, and this is what she wrote, but she died as well. She was like, what can I say? Oh, well, I won't read the whole lot. But she just said, what else could be better? Cancer or no, I stand in the glory of me. What else is possible? But she never made it either. But she, her father, her mother, few people passed on before her very quickly. So So yeah, so with my hubby dying, I really had to walk in those tools. Yes, absolutely. And the biggest one was um, knowing that he was okay, and also being there for everyone's different. Everyone's deals with that and loss or grief very differently,
Yeah.
incredibly differently.
Yeah.
And know that you don't, well, the one of the big things about that shifted and changed for me is because when there's a loss, there's this, from this cultural, what we've brought, people go into a contraction, like they feel like they've got to go down into this cave, or they've got to go somewhere to hold it. But it's actually the opposite. It's actually the opposite. It's the actual willingness to, because when you're contracting, you can't receive. Whereas if it's the opposite, you actually are expanding out, and then you can actually, you can receive. You can actually receive the possibility. That was a huge one for me. Like because everywhere you look, everyone who's choosing grief, they want to put the walls up. They want to go somewhere. They want to, like, leave me alone. This is my grief. You don't know what my grief's like, so don't, you can't understand. And it's all, yes, that's all there. But there actually is this other possibility that's available by being in the question and going, well, wonder what else is truly possible today that I could receive. Because there's all these energies there that you can receive something different. But so much, lots and lots of people have bought the best way to deal with grief is to put those sort of walls up and nurture themselves, and that's going to heal them.
Yeah. That's what I've done when I've been in grief. And luckily I had the tools, of access, and many of the things you talk about in your book. And like, yeah, it's grief is it is. I mean, when I've grieved, I've gone away, I've sort of left my life and stopped living,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work, and eventually you either you can, many people do. I mean, you can die in your grief, and what you have, like, that doesn't work. I mean, well, it doesn't work in terms of living and creating a greater life. And I'm so grateful for these tools, because it's like it allows you to heal in a really sustainable long-term way where that grief doesn't come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And that one through too, like we know that, like, there's no right or wrong or good or bad. Like the difference of it is, yeah, we're going to have those moments, but it's just, it's not, you might have half a day, or you might have a whole day, or you may have a whole week, but it's the willingness to know that you don't have to stay there. Like that running, river. You're not going to, not going to be that rock that's just going to stay there. And it's like being willing to know that, yes, you might be for a little while, but you can keep moving on. You can, you can have those moments, and you can feel like, oh, and I had those too, like that whole, all of those emotions, but also knowing that, hey, it's the morning has come, a new day has started. What can I be today? What can I choose today to allow it to be a little bit easier?
Yeah.
But somewhere somewhere we've bought, it's got to be hard.
Yeah. And I mean, as you and I were talking before we started the show, it's like you had said, a lot of the world is stuck in grief right now. And I think that it's, for so many people, grief is such a familiar, comfortable energy, a very
Yes.
familiar place
Yes.
where it's not something you really want, but it's the evil that you know, and you can feel it all around you. And
Yeah.
so it's a place that we tend to go, and not just over death, grief over a lot of different things.
Oh my God, absolutely. Whether it's to do with money, whether it's to do with relationship, whether it's to do with family, where it's across everywhere. And the thing that I've found, which I'm getting so much better at, it's like you're wrong if you're happy.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Like
You
it
know,
pisses people off.
it does. And I have a short story about that. My husband Anthony, and his wife
Yeah,
committed suicide 12 years ago now. And he, the kids, she died, and the kids were 2 years old, 8 years old, and 10 years old, as you know, Wendy. And
yeah,
she, Anthony really started using these tools and really working on the healing shortly after she died. He found these tools 9 months after she died, and he thought to himself, he was so depressed before he found these tools that he never drank coffee. He started drinking coffee just to bring himself out of the depression. He started using a lot of coping mechanisms. And then once he found these different tools, it's like he started feeling really happy when he had his bars run. And for those of you who don't know what the bars are, you can go to accessconsciousness.com/bars, and it's this body process. And he started having it run, and he's like, it was like 10 months after his wife had committed suicide, and he's like, I feel happy. Like, I'm happy in my
mm,
heart and my body, and I feel peace, and I know that she's going to be okay. And he's like, am I supposed to be feeling this way after a major tragedy in my young life? I mean, his wife was only 30 at the time. And so, and he was like, wow, like, it is okay to heal, and it is okay
yeah,
to have a different life. And so, yeah, that was just
yeah.
kind of a really cool example where he was like, can I be happy again? And he's like, yes, I can be happy again.
Yeah, which is so cool, which is so brilliant, isn't it? Like really and truly, because that's, yeah, it is. It's, I just, yeah, like, I'm ever so grateful as well for, for Gary Douglas, the founder and of Access Consciousness, and Dr. Dane here, because he was just so brilliant in that time with my hubby as well, because he
Mm.
really, he was just I mean, everyone was such an incredible contribution, and it was so cool because I was willing to receive it, and
Mhm.
you know what I mean, like I was willing to receive the contribution, which was so beautiful. And and knowing that there were those people there that had my back, which is, yeah, which is a wonderful thing to know that, hey,
Yeah.
happiness is okay. Happiness is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is so
Yeah,
cool. Just the you just giving that energy of you really receiving how much everybody cares about you. That's so awesome.
yeah, yeah. And because I really, and my questions really, and that's where, Gary was so brilliant, because it was actually dealing with the people that were dealing with their grief.
Yeah.
Like I had to be, I knew I was okay, and that, but I had to then be whatever energy, um, so that they could feel connected to me in
Beautiful.
a way.
That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
So yeah, because we're different.
Mhm.
And what would it take for what would it take for more people to actually see that, because grief's all about the past,
Yes.
and we're actually choosing to live here and now.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
So
beautiful.
and yeah, and I suppose, and it's one of those areas that because it was, grief. I mean, there's such a lightness, death and dying, such a lightness, and it's, it just, it just is, it just is, it just is what it is. And my, I don't know, I just, let's live.
Yeah. Beautiful. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that's a great place to finish with a bang. It's like, let's live. That's so beautiful.
Let's live. Yeah. Cool. Thanks,
Awesome.
Julia. That's gone so quick. It's 26 already. That's so
Isn't that funny? It's so funny when you're having a really cool conversation and bouncing off the other one, how fast it goes by.
I know. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you, those of you out there who are listening to Wendy and I. And, if you have lost a loved one, or are dealing with any other type of grief, it's like these books are awesome. I loved learning from grief. And I just think it's an amazing, there are amazing tools to really and truly transform, heal, and then live. So how does it get better? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.